And we're here to talk about MedtechVISION 23. I'm glad to have Jess Richter and Amanda DePalma with me. They are the linchpins of this particular event. Thank you so much for coming back on. Love having you guys here.
Glad for having us.
Yeah, it's always fun. So the first thing that always occurs to me in these things is it's easy to look backwards and think how great 22 was. My feeling is I'm excited about 23. So what I would start with is saying, okay, what are the takeaways from last year that you either are going to continue for this year or improve, or quite honestly let go, that you think would be better off like not being a part of the event? But I'm curious what the progression is for us from last year to this year.
No, thanks for asking that. And I think, again, that it's right in the name, MedtechVISION. So the intent always is to look forward. Last year's event was incredible, and so it's a hard act to follow. But I think this year, with the theme, with the diverse group of kind of collaborators that went into putting the topic together, the event together, by being back at the Rosewood, which is such a lovely venue to be able to convene, and we've reconfigured the event space so that we can accommodate more people. I think those are the things that we're really looking forward to. One of the things we were reminiscing about last year's meeting, over 50% of attendees, it was their first time attending MedtechVISION. This year we hope to gather the same number of new people, because I think it is important. We want the folks, of course, welcome back that have been there, and they have a responsibility to make everyone feel welcome. They know the ropes. But by bringing new women into the fold, I think we're able to not only just achieve our mission of creating a more inclusive space for women and minorities, diversity in medtech, but also really have more interesting dialogue with that.
Yeah, Amanda?
I think we learn something every year. And I think as we were talking about, every year we walk away with, new learnings, things that have gone well, new people, new perspectives, different feedback. And so every year has been an evolution. I think Jess was saying earlier that, we're at the MedTech Women 2.0, but really it's like we're at MedTech Women 10.0, because we've been at this since 2011, and it just is a continued evolution from where we started in 2011 to where we are today. The last few years in particular, we've seen and learned so much with what's happening with patients, what's happening with the healthcare system, what's happening with diversity across all kinds in the workforce. And so all of those forces continue to influence and really highlight the elements that we need to talk about. And so we look at this as the content that we're bringing forward, the individuals that we're bringing forward, the technologies and the therapies and the ways of solving problems that we're talking about. So I think this year will be the next evolution. Every year we walk away feeling so great and with so many ideas. And I think this year we've learned so much, even over the last year, that will be part of the dialogue and part of the content and the networking. So it's every year, it's an evolution.
I've noticed something about all of you, and I have the distinct advantage of talking to several different members of the board and the executive and the committees and everything that happens with this organization. You always say we. No one ever says I, even when I interview people by themselves, which is fascinating, because most people, when I work with organizations like this, there's a lot of, I did this, I ran this committee, I did this. No one ever says that. So let's talk about your team for just a minute, because I think sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle, because you're behind the scenes mostly doing so much work, but it's hard to see because it runs so flawlessly. It's hard to tell that behind that is hours and hours of work. So if you could give me a bit of, and Jess, you could start, just insight on the team and how they all came together, and maybe some of the newer members that are now coming to the forefront, in addition to all of you and Deb and Amy and the people who've been doing this for a long time. And I want to understand, well, what's the recipe for having this great team, and how did it all happen?
So it takes a village. And I think one of the things that we all have felt, and I'll speak for myself here, but I think I do speak for the group, it is humbling to be in the presence of such hardworking, determined, focused women. And keep in mind, pretty much everyone has a full-time job. So this is a side, hustle, a side passion project for all of us. But to see that level of dedication in a group of volunteers, primarily with the exception of Lynette, who is our incredible executive director, who literally we could not do this without her support. But everybody really gives all their all. The other thing that's interesting, and Amanda and I often comment on this, is, work, our professional lives, personal lives ebb and flow. And so we do work really seamlessly together. Amanda and I always laugh, like when she's in an ebb, I'm in a flow. And it just always works like that, so that we're able to contribute time in a balanced way. And then being able to recruit new talent, not just to become members of MedTech Women, which everyone should become. It's $150. It's a really minimal investment for, I think, a huge return. But getting involved, volunteering more of yourself to be either on a committee to help with the event, to help with social media or marketing, the infusion of just new energy into the organization is part of why I think we're so excited about the event. The other thing that's just interesting as far as the team dynamic, it's all of the individuals. It's certainly Lynette, the board has a role in it. It's also our incredible sponsors. We were a little concerned this year. The economy has not been in a stellar place. We're hearing left and right organizations are having to do reductions in force, make really hard decisions about finances. So we were concerned, maybe companies wouldn't want to sponsor at the same level. I consider our sponsors a very much part of that we. And if you wouldn't mind, Matt, I would like just to take a moment to recognize those sponsors in this, because it does take that village. So, specifically, our platinum sponsors, Medtronic and Abbott, have continued to support us year over year. I'm going to embarrass you for a moment, but our gold sponsor, the Mullings Group, has just been a amazing partner, in productions like this, which you do out of the goodness of your heart, but also in promoting the organization in the sponsorship, attending events. Certainly the sponsorship itself is helpful, but it's really the partnership that goes deep, far, and wide. So we sincerely appreciate that. We have a number of returning silver sponsors, as well as new silver sponsors. So again, in a year of challenging economic times, to have Veranex, Goodwin, Kilpatrick, Townsend, Imperative, McDermott, Will and Emery, iRhythm, Microtransponder, a new sponsor for us, Fogarty Innovation, Boston Scientific, Edwards, a returning sponsor again, and Shockwave Medical join. Again, it's just a huge testament to the level of commitment these organizations share in the vision of MedTech Women. And then we also have a number of bronze sponsors. And again, there's a lot of them, but I appreciate you allowing me to take the time.
Please.
Lazar Finnan Partners, Robbins Kaplan, Advent Women's Network, Venable, Alira Health, and Baxter. And then, of course, just awesome in-kind sponsors, as well as partners that all are on our website. But they are very much a part of that village that enables us to get this done.
You have a great story. It's so easy to get behind it. It's like the Grinch, where his heart grows, too big. For those of you that weren't there last year, I was, and even though I feel like an insider after all this time with everybody, I was a bit of an outsider last year and just quote unquote working there. And there isn't a kinder, more welcoming, intelligent, impactful group of people that I've ever met in the 20 years I've been doing this. And so if you're not a part of it or you haven't gone, I'm strongly recommending that don't wait another minute. Amanda, did you want to add anything to that?
I don't know that I can add much other than just the fact that it is a team. I mean, we say we because it really is we. And as Jess said, it is a volunteer organization, other than Lynette, who keeps us pointed in the right direction and keeps everything held together. It is everyone coming together just because of their passion for what we're doing. And, I also think the way we talk about things, the way we push ideas around, we try to create an environment where we aren't just going through the motions. We are really pushing ourselves to be the best that we can be. So as we were talking about our theme for this year and pushing around ideas and thought we had it set, as we started talking and thinking, and, we came back together and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it until we felt like, okay, this makes sense. Our focus on health equity, what's happening in the world. But there was a lot of conversation, a lot of pushing things around, a lot of difficult conversations to get to something that we felt would be the right topic for what we're trying to accomplish as an organization, what our sponsors are trying to accomplish, what each of us is trying to learn to be better at every day. So I think, as a team, we don't just go through the motions of putting together a meeting. We really strive to put together the best event with the content, the people, and it takes all different perspectives. It takes all different capabilities and lenses on this. And we really appreciate just how the team can come together and bring their experiences to make this the best. But it takes everybody's perspective, everybody's input, everybody's feedback to get here.
It was an interesting exchange I had about this exact topic, and somebody else, a female investor, posted something on Twitter that's like in relation to what we're going to talk about in a second. The concept of being asked to be a keynote speaker or to be on a panel or moderate, and the response from some women is, why would anybody want to hear from me? And when I heard that, I was a bit surprised, because the women I know are just, they're forces of nature. What I don't take into account is there's a large percentage that either are new to this or just unsure. And you had mentioned earlier, before we got on camera, talking about someone who's stepping up to be a moderator now, and she was hesitant to do it, and now she's going to do it, and she's going to be terrific. So I think there's some incredible humility on the part of the board to step aside and let these other people step up. B, there's an incredible amount of encouragement and validation for the folks who haven't done it yet. And C, it's the reinforcement after they do it of how awesome it was, and do this again, and this is now who you are. Everyone does want to hear from you. So I'm curious, from your standpoint, have you seen this, and how do you bring this about in your culture that makes people from the, let's call them the earlier part of their career, or the earlier part of them being vocal and visible, to being incredibly present like all of you are now?
I think, we get together every couple of weeks as a team to talk through the meeting, how it's progressing. And a lot of what we spend our time on are the speakers and the panelists. And so as we construct the panels and as we are able to secure panelists and moderators, we really talk about the chemistry. Do we have a diverse team in every way, right? We have a group that comes together every couple of weeks to talk about how the meeting is progressing. And the largest percent of time we spend talking about the speakers, the panelists, the construct of the conversation that's going to take place throughout the day. And we really look at making sure we have a diverse group of individuals represented, from their ethnic background, from their years of experience, from being from a large company, a small company, industry, or industry partner. And so last Wednesday, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, we were talking through this, and Kate, who's leading a panel, has really put together an impressive panel. And she happens to have, a really deep background from her PhD to the work that she does every day. And we were lacking a moderator for that panel. And, she sort of said, I'd love to put myself up there, but I'm not going to do that. And everybody, and I'm trying to think about the number of boxes that were on the screen. There were probably 12 people on this call. And everybody looked at her and we all said, do it. And now you don't have a choice. Now you're going to do it. And I don't know. I think that's how the world should be. I think in corporate, that's how we should be. And you don't always see that. But I think with this group, we really believe in what we're trying to do. And we see amazing talent and experience that will help everyone learn. But sometimes, we like to be in the background, making things run and putting the pieces together. And we're super confident in that, but getting up on stage or leading a conversation, for whatever reason, not everyone feels comfortable doing that. So I think pushing people to get out there and to share what they know for the better of our audience and the group, learning and participating in the conversation, is something we authentically want to make happen.
And that was actually a theme that, if you recall in our conversation from last year's takeaways, was like, what was the takeaway? It was like, do it afraid and then do it with confidence.
Yep.
I think Kate's a great example of, she was reticent to put herself out there, but she was frankly so qualified. She was by far the most qualified. And in some ways we missed that, right? It wasn't until she was like, well, I did do my PhD in this. And we're like, Kate, go for it, right? Take it. And so it's really, that's the beauty of MedTech Women, is we're tapping, of course, the amazing speakers that we know that are out there. I mean, our incredible sponsors and supporters, the Debs, the Lisa Earnhardts, the people that are like front and center and very comfortable in front of a room. How we progress the mission is to make sure that we are tapping the lesser known people in our industry that just have that wealth of knowledge, and making sure that we are, through the panels, through the prep, enabling them to really highlight what they know. And that's really the mission of MedtechVISION, as well as MedTech Women.
It's one of those things that resonates. Like, I posted something on LinkedIn a while ago about my daughter, and I talked about MedTech Women specifically, of how you are setting the table for her. Because eventually you all are going to go off and do whatever you do and retire and what have you, and so it's the next generation that's going to benefit from all of the trials and tribulations that you all have done. And it takes a certain kind of person to know that this is not for me. This is for everyone who's coming after me. And that's the mentality here. And the organization is so deep in their thought in this particular area, because Deb and Amy could be center stage all the time, yet they constantly want everyone else to shine. And then you all are doing the same by letting someone like Kate and someone else do it. And Sheila Shah, who's fantastic. She's the next generation. And I love that part of the organization, because that is what makes it stand.
Yeah, I think what we see is the work that we do is so important. And,
Yep.
We're all solving different clinical problems and needs from, our patients to our customers. And we see how that work impacts lives. And, one of the things that we talk about and we work on with both AdvaMed and MedTech Color is making this an industry of choice, right? We don't want to just be trading talent between companies. That doesn't really serve the bigger, broader mission that we're all trying to achieve. We want to generate awareness and interest and help people understand that medtech is a career. It's a space that you can go into. And so, we are trying to generate awareness with that younger generation to let them know that what we do is important. It matters. And I think, I can speak to just mentoring, and I think the work that like MedTech Innovator does, and all these small startup CEOs that are coming out with young leaders who have a great idea, but maybe don't have the experience to know how to navigate this industry, just trying to reach down and pull those people into what we're doing. I've fortunately, just through like neighborhood circumstances, met a young CEO who's got an incredible startup company with a device that solves a really kind of basic but needed problem and solution. And, she's going to come to the meeting this year, and I'm going to sit with her and beforehand talk to her about how to be at that meeting and introduce her to people, and, just opening up the community across generations so that we are building a pipeline of talent to solve the problems so that, our parents, us, our children have the best healthcare and opportunity to live a healthy life as possible.
It's such a good point, Amanda. And I think more and more companies, we hear this, right? They have DEI initiatives. It's all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Recently, that belonging piece, DEIB, has been added. And I think if MedTech Women, through MedtechVISION and through the other events that we do in partnership with all of the incredible in-kind sponsors and in-kind partners that we have, if we can help foster that sense of belonging so that MedTech is the place where people want to work because they feel belonging, they see themselves represented in leaders there, then our mission is achieved. And I will also add, Matt, we do get something out of it. So it's not all selfless. I think the thing that we get is the opportunity to work cross-functionally with leaders that we would otherwise not get to in our everyday lives. So, there is strong value in it. While it is certainly setting the table for the next generation, there's a whole lot in it for the volunteers and even for the members that choose to be a part of it.
Well, it definitely, I can just speak from my experience. Whenever I go to a conference or I join an organization or I work with a new client, it just reminds me why I love it. And it invigorates me or reinvigorates me to double my efforts because of that high. You want that again and again and again, the dopamine hit of something fantastic just happened. And that's why I cannot wait to come back. And I want to ask a question about this. I've never been to the Rosewood. So for those that were there last year for the first time or those who are first timers this year, talk to me about the Rosewood, because everyone I'm talking to is excited that it's there, and I'm curious why.
You want to take that one, Jess?
Sure. I love a Rosewood property. This is not a promotion for the Rosewood properties, but what I will say is the setting at the Rosewood is, amidst oak trees. It's very, it's modern, it's beautiful, it's all of those things, but it creates a level of intimacy because of the space that really enables people to open up, to connect, to put their guard down. When Amanda talks about sitting down with that CEO and talking to her about how to optimize the meeting, it's really bringing your authentic self. And I think when you're in a space where you're comfortable, where you see yourself reflected in the audience as well as on the panel, it fosters more openness to do that. And every venue that because we've done different venues over the years, every venue that we've done has been special in its own way, but we keep coming back to the Rosewood because of the little touches, the small things, the more intimate event space, the beautiful lawn that people can easily go back and forth between. So the facility is gorgeous. It certainly is not an inexpensive place to hold a meeting, and we recognize that, especially in today's environment. But I think the value that we get in having a setting like that really does set the tone for what hopefully will be an amazing event.
Yeah, and I want to say the reason we have stepped away from the Rosewood a couple of times is it's a beautiful, beautiful property. The largest ballroom can accommodate about 200 people. And so we've moved outside of that a couple of times because we've had the feedback that, we want more people there, not less. And so we have been creative this year and are going to have some pretty tight seating. But we feel like it's more important to have more people there and be in the room and have that environment where you can just flow back and forth from the conversation to the breaks. And it really creates that perfect networking opportunity and the perfect way to, follow a panel and then go outside and have lunch and sit at a table with people you haven't met or you saw speak on the panel and have that conversation. So we're hoping to find that good balance this year of being at the Rosewood with that environment that really creates that intimacy with being able to have as many people as want to register there at the meeting this year.
Got it. So with that particular area of discussion though, think about somebody that you've met over the last few years from this, and you can't say each other, but somebody that you've met from the organization that has either changed or improved your career or your life in some way. What I want to do is get an idea of being able to describe their level of relationships that you've had here and how impactful it's been just because you were part of this group.
Yeah, there are so many. And I know you asked us this question last year, and then I was able to kind of go think about it after our conversation. And there have been so many people I've met through this organization, through the meetings over the years. And I think that is one of the things I look forward to is meeting new people and establishing relationships. The couple of people that come to mind for me, and by no means, there are so many more, but the couple of people that come to mind for me are Sheila Shaw, who you mentioned, and Estefi Alvarez. And I've had the opportunity, I've known LEK and Sheila's firm for a long time, but I hadn't met Sheila. And because of our work with MedTech Women, one of the partners asked me if I would connect with Sheila, and connected with Sheila. And then she worked on a project for me, and she's now involved in the planning of MedtechVISION, and so many others knew her as well. But, I've been able to lean on her for, professional advice and now as a friend. And Estefi also, she was so persistent, it was like right before the pandemic, I think. And she kept emailing like, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. So we had a call and got to know her, and she brings such good perspective. And, if you'll remember last year, she got up on stage and, she had talked to Alira about conducting a survey of the market, and then got up and presented that important information because it's something she's passionate about and took the time to go do. And again, she's somebody I just talked to her the other day just as a reach out because she's somebody that's become an important part of my life.
Yeah. Jess?
And as an aside, Amanda, it's funny, like as you mentioned names, and Matt, you did it as well. It's unique in an organization where you mention name, you're like, oh, I love that person. Or like, oh, I love her. Like And it feels like that every time. And I think one of the things that we've done well is attract like-minded, diverse thinkers. And what I mean by that is people that have strong work ethic, strong desire to make impact, really get to the root of the group, focused on the challenging problems that we're looking to solve. Like when you bring people with that mindset together, there's nothing we can't solve. And so even just in those examples, I'm like, oh, I love the Steffi. Oh, Sheila's amazing. Like as you talked about Kate. So we are blessed in that way. And Matt, I'll give you an example. I don't remember if I gave this example last year, but I attribute a big part of my career development actually to a connection that I made when I was in the Southern California kind of chapter of MedTech Women. We did a local event and we brought in this speaker from FDA by the name of Netta. And I prepped with her on this local panel that we did. I was at Medtronic at the time, and Netta just knocked it out of the park. I mean, it was amazing to work with her. And then we got to talking. She was leaving FDA. She was coming to this firm. And through that, I actually got my transition from Medtronic to an opportunity at Experian Group. Netta and I have now worked together for 6.5 years. Not only is she like an esteemed colleague, but like truly one of my closest friends. And so that's just an example of like, that wasn't either of our intentions. And I don't think that is always the intent through MedTech Women, that like you're looking for a new job or looking for a change, but the connections that you make, the way that we have throughout now our time working together have been supporters of each other. Like I have so many examples of that through relationships within MedTech Women. So it's nice to count that one, to highlight that one, but there are 12 other examples that we could share just off the top of my head.
That is why you join. That is why you go. Because I can tell you this, of the 300 members or so that they have, and of the close to 300 people who are going to be there, they are all like that. September 12th at the Rosewood, medtechwomen.org. Absolutely go register now. I am telling you, there will not be seats available. Is there anything else that you all wanted to cover before we wrap? You guys have been fantastic.
Just thank you. Appreciate the effort you put every year into having these conversations and highlighting the people and the work that we're doing, and really appreciate your support and your partnership, and always enjoy talking with you.
And likewise, if you need amazing women within your organization, reach out to Matt. He's super well connected, not just because of the network with MedTech Women, but beyond. So Matt, really, really do appreciate your support personally, and of course of the Mullings Group as well.
Listen, with all sincerity, it is my pleasure. You all are a trip and just fun, and I cannot wait to see everybody soon. So this has been us talking about MedTech Vision with Jess Richter and Amanda DePalma. I will see you all there in Palo Alto. Take care.